citizens together, we can start telling the federal government, you've done too much. You read Amendment 10 that talks about if the powers aren't granted to the federal government, they belong to the states. We have gone so far away from that, and we need to reel that back in. But we can do it as citizens. It does not require, nor does it need, or can Congress even stop it, nor the president. It is just the citizens saying enough is enough. And we're going to decide what our future is going to look like the same way the framers of the Constitution decided. For decades, for generation after generation, we've all felt, as we saw the federal government grow, we all felt like there's just nothing we can do about it. We can't control Washington. We're never going to have enough candidates to do the right thing. But all along, we find that Article 5 exists. And through the efforts of George Mason, made it that the citizens can do it. So there's always been this mechanism that the citizens can get along and get together and say, hey, this government's out of control, but we can actually do it. And what I love about it is the threshold that we have to do to get to that. You have to have 34 states approve the application. So it just can't be a small little group deciding things for everybody. It's very constitutional, it's principle-based, and it means something. And what we're really talking about isn't really for us, per se, right now, today. It's what's the future going to look like? What are our kids, my 4 kids that are in college, what's it going to look like for them 10 years from now? Or their grandkids? The same way the founders at the beginning were thinking about the future of America having been under the control of an authoritarian style government. Living that, and we kind of feel it sometimes, but we don't really live it yet. But the more this goes on, the more that's a possibility. So anything we can do right here, right now, that's constitutional, that means something that the overwhelming majority of America has to agree on, is the right thing to do. I would definitely invite people to do 2 things. One, read Article 5. It's very short, very simple, very to the point, and really understand that this is really a real thing. This isn't even really political when you think about it. It's not a gimmick, it's not a campaign slogan, it's real. The second thing is, go on the Conventions of States site, read everything involved with it. Look at the YouTube channel, look at the mock convention that we had of the kind of things we're talking about. When you start seeing the proposals of regulations being limited by just 25% of Congress, let's just say that passed. They want 25% of Congress to stop and say, hey, you can't pass that regulation without the majority of Congress agreeing with you. Congress passes the laws, but then the executive branch does all the regulations. Well, per law, then you get thousands of other regulations that really, when you think about it, are another law. They're just an extension of that law. And if we don't have an ability to say, hey, wait a second, that regulation's a little bit too far, we're stuck with it. And I work for a large company, so a lot of times we can absorb that. But you think about small business that really drives America and drives the economy, they're the ones that suffer the most when it comes to these regulations that are way overstepping their bounds. What side of liberty are you going to be on? 30, 40 years from now, you're talking to your grandchildren or your children about, hey, where were you when this was going on? And you'd be able to tell them, hey, I was right there fighting for liberty and believing in the American people way more than I believe in the American government. We do that, we'll never lose.
Go to conventionofstates.com, press the button, sign the petition. More importantly, get 10 of your friends to do the same. When you sign the petition, then that sends a letter to your state legislator. You go on the list in their district as a supporter. We deliver those lists to the state legislators. It means something to them.